Hello, my name is Christopher Jones, and as we all know, over the past 100 years, the population has increased at a very rapid rate. We've went from under a billion people to all the way to soaring over 8 billion in the course of a century. One of the most important problems that comes with a growing population is lack of food. And as my graph here shows, we just don't have the land to just keep growing. The total arable land on the earth is about the size of South America, and then by 2050, we're predicted to need another Brazil worth of land, which, believe it or not, we just don't have. But vertical farming is a relatively new approach to farming that involves hydroponics and essentially just stacking them on top of each other. Instead of just going wider, we're going taller. So what is vertical farming? Vertical farming is the use of hydroponics, which are essentially places where you plant a seed, sow a seed, and it never touches soil. It gets nutrient-rich water, and it grows. And the main advantage to this is that you can essentially just stack it wherever, essentially in a really tall greenhouse. So vertical farming has great potential in the future of agriculture, but right now it is undeniable flaws that I believe will be essentially canceled out in the future by improving technology. We understand how to do it more efficiently, and it'll just end up creating more food that isn't reliant on large swaths of land, as well as we're completely independent of the weather and climate of where we're growing food. One of the biggest boons to vertical farming is that there's no need to worry about the weather and seasons of where you're growing, because you're in essentially a large greenhouse. Farming plants that grow year-round without needing to worry about potential heat waves, cold snaps, or droughts in the future allows for larger harvests that will be more frequent because we don't have to worry about not planting in the winter. In the Severinsen article, he mentions how tomatoes can be grown on vines that are 40 feet tall and producing nearly 3 million pounds. Another reason is that these farms can be set up anywhere. See, with normal farming, you can't really have it in a city because there just isn't arable land in a city anymore. We've built up too many skyscrapers, there's too much cement. But with vertical farming, we can change an old warehouse and basically turn it into a farm that produces things for people to use. As in the Ling and Altland interview, they mentioned that a vertical farm can breathe life into discarded infrastructure, like said warehouses, creating fresh produce in areas they could not have it otherwise. Vertical farming has two main problems right now: cost and energy. As Foley mentions in his article, vertical farms won't feed the world. He mentions that a common shipping container farm is over 80 grand. Most produce that comes from these farms are also more expensive than organic produce, which, as we already know, is already the more expensive stuff. And that these take a large amount of energy to be able to sustain. Right now, we don't have a good place to source said energy. So we really have two main things to work past for vertical farming to succeed. I think in the future, vertical farming will be more prevalent than it is now. Right now, we're still testing vertical farming, and in the future, it'll be similar with computers. Computers used to be something completely unpractical for the everyday person, but as we all know, we all have multiple computers at this point. So I believe it's important to not discredit vertical farming.